Alrighty, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Whistleblown Podcast. I'm your host, Christian Cruz, joined by my co-host, Douglas Allen, here to break down the top 15 NFL draft prospects ahead of the draft, which is about 2 weeks from today. Uh, Very excited to do this episode. Doug, how you feeling? I'm very excited to hear what you got for your top 15, and yeah, how's life treating you, buddy?
I'm feeling great. Drafts around the corner. Time to rate some prospects. As you get closer to the draft, you start really putting the pen down and putting these rankings in closer to how you feel. They flip flop a little bit before pro days and everything else like that. So getting this close here, you start finding that continuity in your list of okay, who are my top 15 to top 50 players and everything.
Right.
So it'll be a nice time to see where we sit, how close our lists are, how different they are.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think we'll definitely have some similarities to our list. It might just be a difference of where we have them ranked. But yeah, let's get it started here. I mean, number 15. I'll kick it off, and then we can maybe hear your 15 as well. Um, so at number 15, always struggle to pronounce his name, but I'm gonna try my very best here. Vega Uayana. I know I butchered that guard out of Penn State. Doug, I mean, to me, I think this is the best interior offensive lineman in this draft class. I think he's very powerful, especially at the point of contact. He has strong hands. I think he's a very intelligent player as well. I don't think that really gets talked enough about him. Um, you watch in certain games, right, for Penn State. I mean, this kid is just great in the run game. I really do think that he's a plug-in player. I think he has the potential to potentially be a Pro Bowl, All Pro level player within the next 4 to 5 years. He's very athletic as a interior offensive lineman. So I think whether you're running zone gap schemes, I mean, I really do feel like he can really benefit that. And I mean, if he falls down later in the draft, like as some people have him, going before the top 12, top 13, a team like whether it's Dallas or a team possibly like the Commanders who are looking to surround Jaden Daniels right with better offensive line talent. I mean, you really can't go wrong there. But where are you at with number 15?
For 15, I have Jared McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee. I really
Nice.
feel like he is one of the most complete corners in this draft. Elite ball skills, awareness to keep up with wide receivers. Playing with Tennessee, you really got to see that. The hard part was with the injury he sustained. You really didn't get to see a lot of him this year. But you're talking about a 6 foot, 200 pound corner that runs a 4.4 flat, and he's only 20. He has the upside is amazing with him. He had fluidity in his hips. I liked what he seen when he came out of his breaks, and be able to play with that competition in Tennessee. I really feel like he's one of these draft risers, and the more I watched of him, the more I felt like I started really liking this kid. But like you said, you didn't see a lot of him. I think he would be up there with obviously he is in the top 15, but he's up to I think he would really push as the best cornerback in this draft if he was able to get more recognition this year. But unfortunately, he sustained that injury.
Yeah, I completely agree with you because I'll be honest, if if we're taking health out of the question, right, which that's a big part of this, but if we're taking it out, I do think he is the number one quarterback. But a lot of organizations are going to take that ACL injury into consideration, and I think when you look at the season, that Tennessee had, you can't necessarily fault him for not participating in certain activities, right? I mean, making a business decision because ultimately, I mean, like you said, he ran a 4.4 flat. A lot of people are going to have questions how he's going to come off of the injury, and if he could just stay healthy, I mean, I think a team is going to get a steal, right? Because if he was healthy, I think he goes before Delane, out of LSU. So I like that pick. I think that's a solid pick for number 15 there. At number 14, I got Spencer Fano out of Utah. Listen, I've seen some people debate whether Francis Maui Noah out of Miami is, the tackle number one, or if Spencer Fano. is tackle number one. I'll say this much, right? I think that he's a very versatile player. I think he could play offensive tackle. I think he could play on the inside if you need him to play on the inside. I think similar, to Vega U Ayana for Penn State. I think he has great hands at the point of attack. I would say that I do think that he needs to work on getting vertical a little bit better. He did struggle against elite players. The first game that kind of comes to me is the game actually against Texas Tech. He was definitely getting a run for his money, and in a league where I think it's safe to say most teams, compared or not, have a better edge rusher or defensive end. I mean, he's going to be going against, edge ones and defensive end ones week in and week out. So how is he going to handle that? I have some questions there. But I think that, again, that he's a smart player. I think that he's physical at the point of attack. I think he could be a little bit better in the run game. But if you're a team that's possibly trading from 7 to 13, 14, I think that that's a good value for Spencer Fano. I think that that's right where he should go. I would be very shocked if he falls out of the top 15 compared to some of the rest of these guys on the list. But I like him as a player, and I like him as a prospect. I think a team's going to get a potential steal if they're not able to get CC Maui Noah out of Miami.
Yeah, for sure. I like sorry. I like him. I'm a little more higher on him, obviously, when we go through my list on you. For 14, I do have Makai Lemon here.
Wow.
Some notes I had on him is when you watch him on the tape, his hands legit. He only had 3 drops on 175 targets over 2 seasons. He can find the soft spots in zones. He shows up right where you need him. He can sit down in that crease. He's a very reliable target. There's those questions about his size of not being the, prototypical big wide receiver, how much teams value the slot. And I think you see a season like JSN this year, and you see, like, you don't have to be that prototypical X wide receiver, that big body wide receiver. But, even at 5'11", he was consistently, winning jump balls. I'm pretty sure he was like 10 for 15 out of his jump balls. And he has great ball tracking ability in the air. It's just, the only question you would say about him is, like, what team is going to value him at being, or are they going to see him as just a slot receiver, or can they get him in a system where they can potentially move him around? But like I one thing I will say is, like, I do feel like Makai Lemon definitely compete for one of the best wide receivers in this draft. It's just what fit is he going to be, and what teams are going to utilize him to his best ability. Because the knock on him right now is his size. Is he just a slot receiver? So I'd love to see what team can come in and utilize him to his best ability.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said there, Doug. I think that he's going to be the player that is going to potentially slip a little bit, and the team that selects him, they are going to get a dog. I mean, you can make an argument. As much as I love Carnell Tate, I mean, he's most people's wide receiver 1 in this draft class. I mean, I think Makai Lemon could make an argument that he is the best wide receiver in this draft class, and I would not be shocked if we're saying 2 years from now that he was the best wide receiver taking out of the group of wide receivers that will probably be taken in the first round. And I agree with you there. I think that he's one of those receivers where he can make a big play out of nothing, right? And I think it's really going to come down to, the not just the snap count, but I also think it's going to come down to is the team going to ask him to be that wide receiver 1, or is he going to go to a situation where he doesn't necessarily have to be the wide receiver 1? And if he goes to a situation where he doesn't necessarily have to be, I think that could actually benefit him a lot. And I think that could be a schematic advantage for that team. Because, again, I mean, to me, I agree with you, and I have him actually a little bit higher, but I just think that you can make an argument that he could be the best wide receiver out of it. But yeah,
Yeah,
at
for sure.
13, I mean, I have Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon. Look, I'm not entirely sold on this tight end class, but I do think that he is the best out of the bunch, right? I think that he's a reliable red zone threat. He could be a reliable red zone target. He's actually a good blocker. I don't think that a lot of people see him as this athletic freak, which he is, right? But I think a lot of people don't take into consideration how good of a blocker he is. And I think in today's NFL, that a lot of teams value that, especially when you look at some of the best tight ends in the NFL, right? Whether that's Kittle, whether that's um, you know Mark Andrews, whether that's what's his name, um, kid out of Kansas City, Travis Kelsey, who's a decent blocker. I mean, a lot of teams do value that. He ran a 4.39 and at the tight end position. I mean, again, we're talking about freak athleticism. I do have some questions in terms of his physicality. I think that he could be a more physical player. I think that at times he doesn't necessarily play to his size, which to me that can kind of be a red flag because he is a big athlete. But if he could go to a situation maybe like the Baltimore Ravens, or my personal favorite would be the Los Angeles Rams, I really do think that he could bet. I think he could be one of the better tight ends in the NFL, where that's a position that seems like every year the NFL draft is turning out at least one elite tight end. Can he be that one? We'll see. But I do like him here at number 13.
Yeah, I like him. I'm a little lower, I guess you would say, on him. I don't have him in my top 15.
Okay.
To explain is a little bit of like, if you see nowadays, you get one of those tight ends that basically are like, oh, he could be an extension of the wide receiver room. You got your Kyle Pitts, your oh, why am I blanking on his name? You guys, the Giants just signed him, tight end
Yeah,
from the
likely
Ravens.
or
Likely you
yeah.
got you have your tight ends like that, but they're not used properly mostly. Or mostly they're not used properly. And I don't know how much I would value getting a top 10 or spending a top 10 to 15 pick on a tight end that I'm not going to use properly. So for me, I'm like, if you are a team that, if you're a team that can use him, if you're gonna actually put him in your offense, if you are gonna use him like a Tyler Warren in the Colts this year, then I do feel like he's very warranted. I like what I seen on him. I like that he can block and he has that extension of being able to get down the field and being a big play. That speed, I think, really is something that helped shoot up draft boards. But for me, I just feel like it's about the right fit. And you see these nowadays, you see these tight ends that come in and they're an extension from the wide receiver room, and you just don't get to see them be their full potential most of the time because they just aren't used properly. Like we saw Kyle Pitts this year be able to be the Kyle Pitts that we thought we could be, but for most of the season he still wasn't used properly. So for me, he's a little lower on my board, but I completely think it's warranted. For me, my 13 is the I'll just say guard from Penn State. If you want to help me, guard from Penn State. I think
whatever. Yeah.
yeah. But I think he's great in pass protection. I think that's his bread and butter. He had 0 sacks and 0 QB hits and only 4 hurries across 613 snaps in 2025. Being able to have someone come in and say, hey, you're going to play guard here, and know that he's going to come in as a rookie and be able to establish himself is such a great value for the guard position. And I do think right now that the league is starting to trend to being able to appreciate guards more, because I feel like you get your tackles early here in this top 15 and your guards would kind of slowly go down, but then you see like Seattle be able to pick up a Gray Zabel at 18 and see what he was able to do for them. And so I was like, I really fell in love with him. I think he reads stunts very well. And I think he he's huge. I mean, the guy's 330 pounds. He's built like a mountain. And when he gets his hands on you and he anchors on you, he can move you. And I think for a team that, really wants, to shore up a guard position, they are going to get one heck of a steal because unfortunately, like even though I said, there are teams that are starting to value that guard position, more early in the draft, there are teams that aren't. And so somebody is going to be able to get one hell of a steal here. And, I've just been growing on the more that I watch him, to be able to see his tape and everything. And I was like, yeah, I think he's going to be a very good guard in this league.
Yeah, I agree. To go back to some of my points with Vega, one thing I think that kind of gets underspoken about is the level of physicality and anger and tenacity that he plays with. I mean, to me, I think that he's one of those culture shifters that you're gonna bring into your organization, and he's going to be able to kind of help get the rest of your guys on your line in check, right? He kind of, at least from like a leadership standpoint, kind of reminds me of Quentin Nelson, right? Quentin Nelson is a very he plays with a level of tenacity and anger every single snap. And I think that, if a team in the top 10, top 12, if they're able to get him, I mean, again, I think he's a plug-in player. I think that he's potentially a player that could be with your organization for 10 plus years if all goes well with his health, right? So I do like that. I think that that's a good spot for him. I'll be honest, here at number 12, I have someone that you had a little lower on your list, and that's Gerard McCoy, corner out of Tennessee. I thought you made some excellent points on him, so I won't ramble on him too much. All in all, I think that he would be a steal for whatever team drafts him. I think a lot of people are going to overthink him coming off of the ACL, which understandably so, but I just feel like in today's league, these players come back from these, tissue injuries just like nothing, right? I'm not saying that he's going to come back and be the corner that he was in 2024, which that tape is phenomenal. But I do think that if he can at least stay healthy, again, I think that there's an argument that you can make that he is the best corner over Mansour Delaney. So again, I have him at number 12. Really nothing much more to be said. I mean, he could be a top corner out of this draft and be your lockdown for.
Yeah, and just to touch on that is he's only 20. He has so much more room and so much more time ahead of him and everything. So I feel like anybody who sees that, his tape and everything and sees his ability, they'll be able to jump on that and want to get him in their building for sure. For me at 12, I have Monroe Freeling, tackle out of Georgia. Somebody who definitely was another one of the draft risers when I was watching some tape and tackle prospects. Very sneaky. His pass protection was strong in 2025. He allowed very low pressure numbers on 750 snaps, I'm pretty sure, against SEC edge talent. So anytime you can go out there and play in the SEC, everyone loves to rave about the SEC talent and, hold your own. That's definitely something that definitely was something that people and I was looking at when I was looking at his tape. He had active hands. He has a quick punch, and he was able to reset and recover. So he's not getting blown by pass. He anchors very well. And he's big, 6'7", 35-inch arms, and he runs a 4.93. So if you are someone who wants to run, you want to get him out on the run, he is definitely someone that can do that. And you've seen some of these, especially some of these teams that are, picking in the top 15, a lot of them will have an established run game. Only I think like Tennessee right now is somebody who's going to be picking, for running backs then. And so if you want someone to come in and help out your tackle position, I liked him. I liked the way that he played. I thought he played very physical. I thought he held his own playing against Georgia. And the more I looked at him, I just was like, man, this guy's a mountain. He's moving people. He's getting on the edge. And when I saw that 40 time, now that, you're looking at guys, that are playing the tackle position nowadays. And, as much as you say, and I will say this too, sometimes the combine can be silly because we see what these guys are and we see what their tape is. But knowing that they can move and that can translate onto the field and everything. Like I knew he was quick, but then when you see like the 40 time, you're like, oh, that's quick. Anytime you're talking about offensive tackles in the fours, that big boy is moving. So yeah, he's definitely another draft riser. I got a couple of these ones that were coming in that I just started really liking as I started narrowing down these prospects.
Yeah, no. I agree, and I think that he is a good tackle. I think he's part of the big three of Maui Noah, Fano.
Yeah.
Obviously, you insert him at number three. And I think it's just kind of it's a matter of what flavor do you like. I mean, do you like vanilla? Do you like chocolate? I don't think you could go wrong with whether it's him, whether it's Fano. I think it's really going to come down to does a team value him enough to take him within the top 15? Because I think that he's more than deserving to be in the top 15. So I like that selection there. I think it's just a matter of our team's going to value him compared to some of the rest of the guys that could be there, right? Because I wouldn't be shocked if he goes, top 18, possibly to the early 20s. He shouldn't, but I could absolutely see that part. At number 11, you kind of spoke on him already. I'm gonna add some to it. I have Makai Lemon, wide receiver out of USC. You had mentioned the player, and I honestly, he kind of gives me shades of him. He kind of gives me shades of Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver out of Seattle. You already know so much about him, being a Seahawks fan. I think that Makai Lemon, whether it's Tyson, whether it's Carnell Tate, I think he is a crisp route runner. And I think that out of all of the wide receivers, you can even throw in Omari Miller, right? I think that this kid has the best spatial awareness out of the bunch, right? I really do think that any play that he touches the ball, it could potentially either be a big chunk play or it could be taken to the house. I think that a team is going to overthink this. Kind of similar to Jordan Tyson, I think they're going to overthink the injury history a little bit. But in terms of Makai Lemon, I think teams are going to overthink this. And I don't know. I think whether it's Sadiq or whether it's Lemon, I see the Rams getting one of those two. And if they can get their hands on Makai Lemon or Sadiq, Lord have mercy. But I really do like Lemon a lot. At number 11, I think that's about right. But at the same time, I understand him being a little lower on people's top 15 big boards as well. But I don't know. I really do like this kid. I think he's electric. I love his hands. Plays angry as well. Kind of has like that Steve Smith energy a little bit. So I like him though. I really do like him, and I think that the team's going to get a stud.
Yeah, I do see, like we were talking about with him, is I do see you think JSN fell to pick 20, so like, you could see someone like that. Like I said, the one thing with him is how much people value him and look at him as like, is he just a slot receiver? Can he play, bigger than his size allows? And I do. When you see the tape, like I said, his ball tracking and his big play and being able to do that, I have no problems with him. And like I said, it's just flavoring, what he liked. Right. And for me, like we're talking about flavoring, well, this is the best way to explain it. For me, 11, wide receiver out of Ohio State, Carnell Tate. When I watched his tape, I mean, I feel like his hands were as natural as they come. He had 3 drops all year. And, you've seen the big play ability last year. He had 5 touchdowns of 40-plus yards. I think arguably the best in his class at coming back to underthrown balls. He can high point the football like nobody's business. You just watch his tape and you go, pencil him in as another great Ohio State wide receiver. Like they're making him out like a factory in Ohio State now. And it's just, like you said, we're almost like flavoring right now. Like you said, what do you like? Carnell Tate is a little bit, bigger body. So however you want to slice that, for what your wide receiver is, or your wide receiver 1 is. For me, Carnell Tate is my wide receiver 1, but at 11. Makai Lemon for me was 14. So I don't think they're separated by much. But I loved what I was able to see from him, and like I said, I watched that thing. I can pencil that man in as another great Ohio State wide receiver.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. And I think a lot of teams, I think you're drafting him to be your wide receiver one. I just wonder if he is a wide receiver for most teams, right? I think if a team like
Mhm.
Washington were to draft him, I think, you know, taking into consideration Terry McLaurin's age, you're possibly drafting him to be that Terry McLaurin replacement later down the line. But you insert him into a team like Baltimore, he's probably your wide receiver one. I think right now he kind of has to be. You're drafting him this high too.
Yeah.
I just wonder if he is. That's really my only knockout card on tape. Because he's on my list as well. I agree with you. I think that he has great hands. I think that he has some good speed. I think he will produce in this league. I think he's actually a very smooth route runner as well. So, Ohio State, they're churning out another wide receiver. They'll be churning out another one next year, right? But
Yeah.
I like that though at number 11. I think that's a nice spot. Number 10, I have Francis Maui Noah, CC Maui Noah, right tackle out of Miami. This kid, to me, I think is the top tackle in this entire draft class, Doug. I mean, I think that he is a beast of an offensive lineman, similar to Vega. I mean, he plays angry. He is tough. He is dominant at the line of scrimmage. I mean, he owns the line of scrimmage. I have some questions whether he's going to be a right tackle or if he's going to be a right guard in this league. He's already actually been asked that quite a few times whether he thinks he'll be a guard or a tackle in this league. I've heard some people say that they think he'll, do better as a guard compared to a right tackle, but I think honestly he can play both. I think there's certain questions with his hands that I have where I don't know if he'll necessarily translate well at the right tackle position. I think he might be better at the right guard position, but I still think that he's a dominant player. I think that regardless of what scheme you put him in, I think that he'll be able to fare well in it. Again, I just have some questions as to whether he'll fare well better at right tackle or right guard. But I think at number 10, I mean, I think that's fair. I think that being the top tackle, considering the rest of the players that are on the board, I think 10, I think that's a fair spot.
Yeah, I think the positional versatility really helps his draft stock, and of like, if you play him at right tackle or if you need to, slide him in at guard, I feel like that really helps, his draft stock and where you want to draft him because you're drafting someone that has that positional flexibility. Like you said, like I said earlier, you saw Grace Abel last year. He played, he lined up at center at the Senior Bowl, but he played left tackle the year before. The year before that, he played left guard. You have that positional flexibility, and nowadays teams are really falling in love with a player that you can come in and can compete and show that he can hold his own at multiple different positions. So, yes, I definitely agree that he's the top tackle. For me at 10, I have Mansour Delane, cornerback out of LSU. I think watching his tape, he had very fluid hips, quick feet. He could hear receivers. Did not allow a touchdown at LSU, and only gave up two 20-yard plus receptions. That is about as good as you can ask for out of your corner. Not only did he had good ball production, he had good instincts, 8 career interceptions, 27 passes defended. He, you needed your corner to make a stop. When you needed him to show up, he showed up. McCoy just, had some injury issues and everything, and Mansour Delane was on. He had the spotlight on him, and he showed up. And I feel like that's what you want out of if you're going to draft a corner in the top 10, you want him to be the tone setter. you want him to be that guy that can show up. And I feel like watching his tape, he showed up and was, the
Oh, I think we lost Doug. But look, until Doug comes back, let me take it over from here because I actually had Mansour Delane at number 9, so I think that'll actually work perfectly. Listen, Mansour Delane right now is the best corner in this draft class, right? Corner out of LSU. I think that he's phenomenal in coverage, like Doug was saying. I mean, he is a physical corner. He's viewed as the best corner in this draft class. He is a shutdown corner. Now, I think it is also going to come down to, you know, where does he go? Because there are some people that have questions whether is he a zone corner, is he a man corner? Me personally, I mean, I see him more as being a man corner. Again, I think he is the best cornerback in this draft class, and I do believe we're getting Doug back here soon. So that'll be great. But yeah,
back.
yeah, you are, and it actually worked out perfectly because I had Mansour Delane at number 9. So, to kind of
Okay,
before I
perfect.
give you back to Mike, I like I was saying, I think he's great in coverage. He is a physical corner. He's a shutdown corner, and I think like you were saying, I mean, he had a season where you're saying to yourself, this is the kind of corner that I want, right? I mean, just the perfect season, if you will, for a corner. And I think that when you look at the level of talent that he was playing against too, I think that makes it even more impressive. But yeah, I was just highlighting some of your points because I had him at number 9. But yeah, I agree with a lot with what you were saying. If you wanted
Yeah.
to finish off your point.
Yeah, I just, when you saw him, like I said, you saw a corner that, like I said, or like I was saying, is you saw the corner that when you needed him to show up, when you needed him to shut down, the opposing's best wide receiver, you needed him to be cornerback one, not on your. He showed up, and like I said, you're picking a corner at top 10. You want that kind of ability. You want that tone setter on your defense, and I felt like he showed that time and time again.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, again, if Gerard McCoy doesn't have that injury history, I think it's not even a question. I think McCoy is that number 1. But with that being said, Mansour Delane is the number 1, and that's not even a knock on McCoy. I mean, because Mansour Delane, I mean, I think he has the size. He plays with the physicality that you would want at your cornerback 1. I think you have to play with a certain level of grit at the cornerback 1 position. He definitely has that. You can check that off of the list. But again, I think the physicality that he plays with, I think as a Giants fan, I pray he doesn't go to Dallas. I think that would actually be a good Diggs replacement because they need secondary help. But I mean, I just think that he's just the traits that he have. I mean, they're elite traits. Though. They are elite traits, and I think
Yeah.
if you're drafting him, whether it's at 10, whether it's in the top 12, I mean, you are getting a premier player. I kind of the Jerome McCoy thing. I know we're talking about Delane, but it kind of reminds me of Derek Stingley, right? A lot of people had questions about how he would perform coming off of injury, and now we obviously hold him into high consideration, right, when it comes to the best cornerbacks in the NFL. I'm not saying that that's going to be Jerome McCoy and Mansour Delane, but I think that both of those players could be premier players at their position. Did you want to bounce off what your number 9 was? I had Delane at number 9.
Yeah, yeah. 9, I have Spencer Fanu, tackle out of
Okay.
Utah. When I watch his tape, he flies out of his stance. He has rare like explosiveness. He moves. I feel like he moves almost like a tight end. In a tackle, you see his being able to get off his stance. He. I thought he showed strong hands. He had a firm center of gravity. Possesses outstanding balance and recovery skills. As I'm reading my notes, when you saw him, you just saw him, be one of those dudes that just play nasty. That can set a tone and everything, and tip topping or like skipping a little bit ahead. Like to my 8 pick. I have Francis out of Miami. So this is how for me how like close those two were when it comes to like the top tackle
Yeah,
spots. For me, Francis, like I said, with that versatility and flexibility at tackle guard, you I value that a little bit higher. But I feel like him and Francis were very neck and neck this year on like who is going to be that top tackle for me. But I think Francis, kind of edged it out his positional versatility. But I feel like going to get a very good tone setting tackle in Francis, because when you saw him, he didn't back down. He played with a nasty ferociousness of him that you saw. And I don't know what it is, there's something about those Utah players, that come out and they just have some good grit to them, like
yeah,
so it was something that was that when I was watching it, I really fell in love with how he played. And you for me, I love that nasty on that offensive line. And like you were saying earlier with Francis, I agree with just that same thing too. These players play, they're very similar in a way. Um, with how you want to evaluate them. But like I said, Francis touched him out with the positional versatility for just a uh, little ahead to my 8. But just to let you know how close they were for me.
yeah. No, I mean, and they are close, right? I mean, to speak on offensive. Oh, well, we got Doug. Hopefully, he'll bounce right back. To speak to his point on Spencer Fano out of Utah, like I was saying earlier, he's a versatile player. He can play offensive tackle. He can play interior offensive line as well. He's smart. He has great hands at the point of attack. I mean, he is a physical freak. Like Doug was saying, he kind of moves like a tight end almost, which, I mean, in today's NFL, especially when you're playing, these zone gap schemes, right? Whether you're in a scheme like the Shanahan's, right? Where that's really important. You need not just a physical freak at the offensive lineman, but you want to need a more athletic offensive lineman. I think that's definitely Spencer Fano. We got Doug back. I was just saying, to your point, I was bringing up some of my points earlier with Spencer Fano. I mean, yeah, great point of attack, a physical freak. I mean, the way that he's able to move, I mean, it's very
Yeah,
impressive for his
yeah,
size. He is a versatile player. And then, yeah, with Maui Noah, I mean, because they are close in terms of if we're talking about 1A, 1B, I think they're very close in that regard. But Maui Noah, I mean, like you were saying, and like I was saying earlier, I mean, he plays angry, he's tough, very
yeah,
intelligent, he's dominant, he owns the line of scrimmage. I think that both of these players, whether it's Fano or whether it's Maui Noah, you are potentially getting a 10 plus year player for your organization, similar to Vega Ioana, right, out of Penn State. I mean, teams, I mean, they're going to be getting their potential, just cornerstone piece on their offensive line. I mean, at least right now, at least that's what it's looking like right now. But I think you can't go wrong with either or. So I definitely do like those two. Um, at number 8, I got Ruben Bain out of Miami. Listen, the motor that this kid plays with. I mean, I think that he had a great season with Miami. I think I understand the concern with the short arms, but I think a lot of people are just overthinking it. And I think if he falls, man, which I think he's going to, but if he falls, a team is getting a steal of a player, Doug. I mean, this kid was just a monster at Miami. I mean, I thought that he was great against the rush. I honestly thought that he was great, in terms of, stopping the run as well. You would think that a player of his size would struggle with that, but I thought that he actually was fairly good in that respect. Now, I will say this much, I mean, he's still learning the position as well. I think there are certain things that he can improve on, but ultimately, I think that teams are kind of overthinking the short arms thing. Um, yes, I understand. If you're lining up against a player like Lane Johnson, right? He has one of the longest arms at the offensive tackle position, right? Um, I mean, yeah, I could see that being somewhat of a concern, but I still think you're getting a beast of a player, and I'm not letting his arm length stop me from selecting him within the top 10. I'm not.
yeah. I get it. I think it's one of those things where it's it's a thing that people are making it more of what it is. I do feel like is situational things where, like, when you get to the combine, you see, arm length, you see speed, you see on the tape. What do you see that shows up on the field? And you see what shows up on the field with him, and you see how he shows up on the field. So I think it's one of those things, when we get closer to the draft, like it's just a topic, people almost like to pick people apart too much. Um,
I agree.
and I think it's
I
one of
agree.
those. I think Ruben Bain's a monster. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be one of many Miami players selected in the first round. Obviously, for me, I already said it. 8 for me, Francis. Tackle out of Miami. Um, I thought I thought his anchor was ridiculous. His ability to latch onto players and just take them for a ride, bull rush them. He is like a brick wall when defenders engage with him. I one of my notes was he was built like a fridge with legs. I mean, this dude is every bit his size. He plays with every bit his size, but he has great balance and body control. He can move at 350 or 315. He clocked in at nearly 20 miles per hour with a 1.72 second yard split. So basically, he can move quickly. He has very lateral or good lateral speed, is what you want in your tackles. I felt like his ability to be able to be a anchor at your tackle position, and that flexibility, tackle and guard, like we talked about, really sets him up to be, the top tackle and your best offensive lineman. So that's who I got at 8.
I like that. I like that. And again, both of these players, right? Both of these Hurricanes, whether it's Bade, whether it's Maui Noah, I mean,
Yeah.
you are getting cornerstone pieces for your line, whether it's offense or defense. You are getting cornerstone pieces. So I like that. I really do. Number 7, some people might think this is a little high for him, but I personally like him at number 7. You spoke about him earlier. Ohio State wide receiver Cardinal Tate. Listen, I think he's outstanding. I really do. I think that he is such a smooth route runner. I think he has good speed, great hands, like you were mentioning earlier. I think he will produce. Like I was saying to your point earlier, Doug, my question is he going to be a wide receiver 1 or is he going to be a wide receiver 2? Now, I understand that depending on where he gets drafted to, he's not necessarily going to have a choice whether he's a wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2. But I'm mainly speaking about production wise. Is he going to churn out wide receiver 1 numbers? But I really do like him at number 7. Again, if we're keeping what is it called? If we're keeping the streak alive of Ohio State wide receivers turning out another great wide receiver, I think Carnell Tate really does fit the bill. I've had conversations with some people who have had questions whether did he produce simply out of being lined up next to Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State. I don't necessarily. I think that plays a part, but I don't think that's necessarily the entire case because I think that again he is a very good wide receiver. I think if Jordan Tyson could stay healthy, I would probably put him here at number 7. He's not on my top 15 list, but again, I think Carnell Tate he is the wide receiver 1 out of this group. I really do like if he goes to a team like Cleveland. They desperately need wide receiver help. And if they're going to rely on Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson, I would like them to not rely on Jerry Jeudy being that wide receiver 1. I really do think that Carnell Tate, wherever he goes in the top 10, I think that he's going to be drafted to be your wide receiver.
Yeah. I think obviously any situation is or any player is situational or situational situation. Say that 5 times fast. I do think like you have questions, but for me, I feel like Cardell Tate could definitely come in and be a wide receiver 1. I think he has rare talent and like I said earlier, ability to just come in and be another Ohio State wide receiver. For me at 7, I have another Ohio State player, just different position. Sony Style, linebacker.
Oh, We lost Doug. Oh no. All right. Well, while we wait on Doug to come back and join the stream, if you are enjoying what you are watching, please give us a follow, give us a like. You can find us on all social media platforms under the Whistleblown Podcast. If you look to your bottom right, you will see our handles for Twitter, and you will also see it for TikTok as well. We do have an Instagram. I got to get that changed up, but it's the same thing as well. And it looks like we have Doug coming back. So, with that being said, we appreciate your support, appreciate your patience with us, and yeah, let's try to get Doug back and try to continue on the rest of this list for you.
Oh, am I back for the third time?
Yeah, I was just telling.
I'm like Terminator, man. I just keep coming back.
Exactly. No, I was just telling the people, where they can find us on social media, and thanking them for watching the stream and being patient with us. But you were saying your number 7, you had Sonny Styles.
Let's just say I had my internet worked on today, and say it didn't turn out that great. Yeah, I have Sonny Styles. I thought he had rare athleticism for his position. Coverage ability was uncommon for somebody to be able to come in and play and cover tight ends, to cover running backs. He showed great ability to come and play off-ball linebacker. He made clean off-field tackles. His versatility to line up at Mike and Will linebacker and complement it with that speed. I thought he was someone that popped and everything. I think the combine, he's one of those people that the combine really helped, because I feel like, when you saw him, you were like, okay, this is going to be another great linebacker. Then he showed off his speed, and I feel like a lot of people was like, okay, this is, a top 5 pick. And those are one of those things where, unfortunately for me, is like, as much as I like Sony, I feel like if he's like one of those, like a John Ross, a Worthy, as much as I love Worthy, do you think Worthy was going to go where he was if he didn't have the speed? They knew he was fast. They didn't know he's that fast. They were enamored by his speed. And that's one of my things with Sonny is I do love him. Obviously he's at 7, he's in the top 10. But I feel like, when people are putting him in that top 3 category, I think a lot of that hype came after, he was able to run that 40-yard time and seeing that he was speed, which is great, with the ability that you want from linebackers these days, with, how they have them. They want them to be able to, play multiple different positions to cover and everything. And I feel like he has those intangibles, and you saw it. Anytime you can trust your linebacker to go up against tight ends and cover the running back to play, multiple positions and everything, I feel like those are one of one things that you want to ask out of your linebacker. And Sonny, who gets him, he's going to be a great addition for that defense. I think he can come in and be, your general. He can come in and really help a defense and solidify himself in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. I have Sonny a little higher, but I think he made some excellent points. I mean, I think that, he's the perfect linebacker for today's game, right? I mean, the sideline to sideline speed. I mean, he's just a freak athlete, 6'5", 240 pounds. I mean, he is just a monster of a man on the field. I mean, Ohio State, you're going to see a lot of Ohio State players within the top 10, let alone the top 7, right? But ultimately, yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. I'll give some of my points on Sonny Styles when I have them on my list, but I agree with a lot with what you were saying. My number 6, he's actually a teammate of Sonny Styles. I have safety Caleb Downs. Listen, you can make an argument that regardless of position, he is the best defensive player in this draft class. He does it all, right? I love him in the run game. I love him when he's in coverage. I mean, he is a thumper, extremely smart. He's versatile. He's a hard hitter. There's some people that have complained about his size. I think that that's a ton of crap, if I'm being honest with you. I think that that's getting thought of way too much. I mean, you look at some of the best safeties historically. I mean, they're usually under 6 foot, and he's 6 foot on. I mean, without nothing, 6 foot. That was his measurement, 6 foot. I don't think that that's small for the safety position. You would think that this kid is 5'10", 5'11", the way that some people have spoken about him. But listen, I think that he comes in and he is the leader on your defense. That is me personally. Same with Sonny Styles, obviously, but I really do think that he's a leader on your defense. I really do get excited thinking about the potential of him coming to my Giants. I think that he'd be a beast in our secondary. I do think that there are certain things that he does need to work on. I think he could be a little bit more disciplined in the run game. I mean, he's not going to make those wow plays, but I do think that he is a player that could be a franchise-shifting player, right? Especially on the defense. So, I mean, for me, I think Caleb Downs, I think that if we're talking about the secondary, whether that's corner, whether that's safety, I think bar none, he is the best player that you can get at the secondary in the entire draft class. That is just me personally.
Yeah, I'm high. You'll see on my list here in a second. I'm high on Caleb Downs. I do feel like like I said, we were talking about earlier with short arms. I do feel like the whole size thing and everything. You look at some of the great safeties. You look at a Earl Thomas. He was not the biggest safety, but he was able to let his presence be known on the field. So I do feel like when you look at the tape of Downs, you see every bit of what his draft stock is telling you. Everything you see on the field is warranted. His play, his tenacity that he plays with. I think that is a very worthy spot for me. At 6, I have David Bailey, edge out of Texas Tech. I just thought he played with a relentless motor. He has a freakish first step, explosive. He wins his reps. Anytime you get an edge player that can win before, with speed, when you go in with power, off the edge before your tackle is able to get set up, and the freakish, explosiveness that he had, that he played with, not only was he setting the tone on the edge that you want him, his ball disruption skills showed up. He had 7 career forced fumbles. So even if he's not creating the sack, he's going to get in there and be disruptive. And I just felt like the relentless motor that I saw of him just popped every time I turned on the field. This kid was just, he didn't give up on a play, whether he was chasing the ball carrier down. And I loved every bit of his tape that I was watching with him. And I feel like he's very up there with your top edge rushers. It's like we said with wide receiver earlier. It comes down to flavor and how you want your edge rusher and what you like best.
Yeah, I agree with you with David Bailey. I mean, I think, and I can kind of add to this because I actually have him at my number 5. I think that he's a beast of an edge rusher. I mean, I think the motor that he has, it's the best pure motor. And you can make an argument that he is the best pure rusher, right? Out of all of these players that we're probably list. And I think that he's even worth a top 3 pick. If you were to ask me, I think that he should be the pick for the Jets over Arvell Reese. I think that he's a surefire player. You can make an argument that he's the safe pick, right? I mean, he has the lowest ceiling when you're comparing him to Arvell Reese, but you know what you're getting with David Bailey. And that's not a knock on him whatsoever. Because, I mean, I think really what gives Arvell Reese that edge is the ceiling. Because, I mean, we'll talk about Arvell Reese in a sec, but, I mean, he's a phenomenal player. But David Bailey, dude, I mean, I really do think that, a team, if he falls past Tennessee, right, or even if he falls past Arizona, teams are going to be calling up to try to land him, whether that's Dallas, whether that's Kansas City. I mean, teams are going to trade up to get this guy, and he's worth it. He's worth it. He is instantly one of the best players on your defense the moment that you draft him. I mean, he is a phenomenal player, and again, I think he's worth a top 3 pick. But I had him at my
Yeah,
number 5.
I think David Bailey, like I said, it is for me. I feel like you hit on with him and Arvel. Arvel has a higher ceiling. David Bailey, I feel like his ability to just never give up on the play, his motor, his relentlessness that he played with, it's one of those, one of one situation. You can't teach that, that is just ingrained in him, and it is definitely what, helped him be so high for you. You have him at 5. And this is how close it was for me. For my 5, I have Arvel Reese, linebacker out of Ohio State. I thought he had legit sideline speed. He ran a 4.46. The ability to stop the run was something that I've seen time and time again. I thought he has a true positional versatility as a chess piece. He rushes the pass, or he can rush the passer from inside, and you can line him outside. That flexibility to be able to play both positions. And he just had 4 missed tackles in 2024. And nearly, or what was my other notes? 4 missed tackles in 2024 on nearly 70 stops. Um, he was a beast, and his ability and what you said, like his ceiling, and what he can be, is one of those things on why you're like, okay, which one do you want to take? The one with the higher ceiling? You want to take the one that was more proven? The one thing that I would say with David Bailey was, he played at Stanford before this, then he goes to Texas Tech and he really turns it on. So how do you feel, how much is that, how much do you want to judge that off of like that 1 year of being, that one, 1 year of high production at Texas Tech? Or do you feel like, are you going to take him as like, what he was at Stanford? Because I just feel like it's perfect thing to say, what is he going to be in our scheme? You saw him and how he was able to unleash him at Texas Tech. And so, for me, it's just like you said, Arvel Reese, higher ceiling, David Bailey, right now, what he is and everything. So for me, obviously it's that close.
It is close. I mean, it's close because I have actually Arvel Reese at my number 4. Listen, I think, again, we speak about the ceiling, which that's very real, right? But, I mean, so many people, I feel like, because Sonny Styles did kind of outshine him during the combine, I mean, he had an elite combine, Arvel Reese.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they were kind of making fun of him for that bend that he had, and he seemed to have fixed that, right, within like a week. I mean, I think that was just, like you were saying earlier, as we get closer to the draft, people are going to find these smallest things to pick apart, right? Whether it's for content, whether it's for whichever, they're going to do so. So, again, I think Arvel Reese is a phenomenal player. I think, some teams are going to, if the Jets pass on him at 2 and they go the David Bailey route, I think, honestly, that works in Arvel Reese's favor. Because I would have a lot of questions on whether Aaron Glenn and the Jets could get the most out of Arvel Reese. He's still learning. Okay, he did what? He was playing 2 different positions at Ohio State, phenomenal at both of them, and I think that, he could get to the quarterback at an elite level. He could be a little bit better in the run game, but again, he's still learning. He's still growing. I think he's a game wrecker of a player. I personally think that he's going to go to a team like the Arizona Cardinals. I think that he fits schematically what they like to do over there. They definitely like their guys being multiple. And I think, with them not going the quarterback route at number 3, if he falls, past number 2, I think he has to be your selection at number 3. I think anything besides that is a wrong pick, in my personal opinion. But, Arvel Reese, man, I think him and David Bailey, I mean, they're damn near neck and neck.
Yeah. And, all right, do you want to start with your pick at 4? Do you want me to take over 4? We're right now.
Well, that was my pick at number 4. Yeah.
What are the legend? Oh, okay,
yeah,
that's your 4.
Yeah,
okay.
that was my number 4. Yeah.
For me, this might surprise. Okay. Yep. For me, this might surprise some people, but for me, I have Forza out of Indiana. I know a lot of people have him at number one because he's going to be the number one overall pick, but I don't know if he's the best player in the draft. For me, like if I read off some of my notes here, I think he protects the football at a high level. Only 6 interceptions on 380 attempts in 2024. He's a tough pocket passer. He's not the most like mobile, but he's functional. He's a functional athlete. He can move on some bootlegs. He can pick up first downs. For me, I feel like he's very Jared Goff esque. Like a bigger body, quarterback can come in and play. But for me, I feel like if we're going to be honest with ourselves, is Fernando Mendoza for the number one overall pick? How I explain it is he Mr. Right or Mr. Right now? Is he just the best cornerback in this draft, or is he someone that you're like, oh no, he's a great quarterback? Because to me, I just feel like he's going to be someone that can come in, but like I don't see Mendoza as that game changer. And for the fact that the Raiders already signed like a Kirk Cousins, and Kubiak has already said, his ability to not want to rush a young player and be able to, like learn from Kirk. It's just like I thought Mendoza, was great last year. He won the Heisman, winning your natty, like being able to cap your season off like that was great. But most people will say, if he was in a different draft class, would he even be the third best quarterback in that draft? So for me, I just, I'm a little, obviously 4 is not low, but putting as the best overall player, the best prospect out there, like it's one of those situations where you're just like, okay, is he going to be number one because he's the quarterback? He's going to be the number one overall pick, or is he the best player that is coming out of all these players? And to me, I don't think he's the best player.
No, I mean I think that's fair. And I can kind of piggyback off that because I actually have him at number 3. Listen, I think despite the season he had at Indiana, I think that he can make every throw. Right? I mean, we know this.
Yeah.
I think he's an intelligent player. I think he's ideally, at least the way that he composes himself, right? The way that he holds himself, that's the kind of quarterback that you want. But I think a great way to sum up Fernando Mendoza, like you said, is he Mr. Right now or is he Mr. Right? Because that is a real question, and the Ravens, I mean, not the Ravens, the Raiders, they're going to have to find that out because you do have a good placeholder for right now in Kirk Cousins. You don't necessarily have to rush him in, but even still, is he the guy that gets you to where you want to be at? Or is he just, because even with the Lions, right, with Detroit, I mean, I like Jared Goff, but I don't know if I see Jared Goff ever taking Detroit and that roster to a Super Bowl. You can make an argument that they, are probably going to be in the market for a quarterback next season if they don't make a deep enough playoff push this season. So I agree with a lot of things that you said. I have him at my number 3. I think right now, I think you can make an argument, whether if he goes number 1 or if there's that slim chance that he doesn't, which I don't think is going to happen. But if he doesn't, I mean, I think regardless, you're still getting a very good player. I think you're getting someone who, he's not going to be a reason why you lose a game, but I don't know if he's necessarily going to be a reason why you win it all, per se. I don't think he's going to be that guy that's going to be able to uplift the talent around him. I think the talent around him is going to need to be damn near good. I mean, damn near perfect for him to be entirely successful. So I agree with a lot of the points that you said.
Yeah. And to highlight or with that and what you could add to that is I look at the Rams. The Rams already said, with Jared, we don't know if we could win, with you. They traded him and they were able to win without him. So that's, I guess you say my final thoughts on that. For me, for 3, a player that you already touched on for my third is Caleb Downs, safety, Ohio State. I thought he displayed excellent ball hawking instincts. I thought he had almost like corner fluidity in his hips. He brings a physicality as a run defender. He takes on blocks. He will hit. He will stick you. I think he's one of the better safeties that you have been able to see coming out of the draft in a while. And in a position now that the safety is so much more different, and why I brought up his cornerback fluidity um, is nowadays they want you as a safety to play maybe a little nickel, play in the box, play here, play there. And I do feel like, despite his size, Caleb Downs can come and give you some flexibility at different positions, and play high level football. I just think when you turn on the tape, you look at this guy, and there's no way you say, "Hey, this is not a top five, level talent player in this draft." Like, he is a top five prospect, and for me, it's just like what we were saying earlier. I feel like it's a little bit of nitpicking when you start talking about his size, because when he played on the field, his size was not an issue, and I don't feel like it's going to be an issue. We've seen smaller, compact safeties. Not all safeties are these big body safeties. Just depends on what you're going to ask out of him. But for what he was able to do for Ohio State, and the things that his intangibles and the things that he excels at, I think a team could pick him up and he is going to play a lot of good football. I'm talking, all pro level caliber player.
Yeah, yeah. I listen. I mean, Caleb Downs. I mean, like I was saying earlier. I mean, I think you can make a very strong argument that he is the best defensive player in this draft class. And I think you're getting a potential, I mean, gold jacket player. I mean, I don't want to put those expectations on him, but you watch him and you're just like, damn, is this kid good? I mean, he is a phenomenal player. And I mean, I wouldn't hate it if a team took him in the top five. I wouldn't, or even in the top four. I wouldn't hate it at all because I think he is worthy of that. So I actually like that selection. Kind of, add to what you were saying earlier for this player at my number two, I have Sonny Styles, linebacker out of Ohio State. To kind of add to what you were saying, I mean, he's great in coverage. He's a freak athlete. He's phenomenal. I mean, I think he's the perfect linebacker for today's game and the future, right, for the position. I think that he's great against the run. He has sideline to sideline speed. I think you insert him into your defense, and he's the commander, right? He is the sheriff of your defense. If you don't have a Caleb Downs, he is the commander of your defense, right? I think and he's still learning the position, and I don't see the comparison because I see so many people say, "Oh, he's just another Isaiah Simmons." When you watch the tape, I mean, these two couldn't be farther apart from each other. I mean, this kid, I think he plays the linebacker position at a damn near elite level, and he's still learning the position. He's a young player, and I think that you're drafting him to be your captain of your defense. And honestly, I think that would be a home run selection for any team that were to draft him. And I hope it's my New York Giants, but I really do love this kid, man. I just think that he is a I can't even talk. That's how excited he got me. I just think he's a phenomenal player, man.
Yeah, he is. I think he's gonna, like I said, we come in. He's gonna be a floor general. He's gonna be able to come in and be at, he's gonna be that anchor in the middle of your defense, and come in and show off that speed, show off that coverage ability that that right now is so coveted in the NFL. For me, at my two spot, obviously they're a little different for us and where we are, but for me, number two, Ruben Bain, edge out of Miami. I thought his first step quickness was phenomenal. His ability to put his hand in your chest and move you was something beautiful. It was beautiful to watch. I mean, he plays the run with real aggression. His effort is consistent. I mean, he's not going to give up on a play. If you put him on his behind, he's going to get up and keep running. And you love to see that out of your edge players. And one thing that really stood out to me was his ability to show up in big moments. 5 sacks during the college football playoffs. When you needed him, when you needed to call on him, he was there. And like we said, for me, I have, your top edge talents, 3 of them in my top 7. But the thing with Ruben Bain that really had him stand out from others was his ability to show up in the big moments, to show up in the playoffs. To show up in the playoffs and get those sacks and get those disruption numbers was something that really set him aside for me. Obviously I'm a little bit more higher on him, but I loved Ruben Bain's tape. I loved what I was able to see from him, his ability to knock to knock blockers off their spot and just put his hand and move you. And like I said, when you want somebody you're going to draft in the top 10, you're going to want them, at their best. And when he needed to be at his best, he was.
I agree. I agree 1,000%. And again, like we were saying earlier, I mean, the motor that he has, I think it's the best motor damn near out of all of these edge rushers in the class. I mean, and like you highlighted, that first step, I mean, it is lethal. It is completely lethal.
Yeah.
And again, I think, he's still learning the position, but I think ultimately teams are going to overthink the short arm narrative. I understand that it's a real thing, but he's been able to be dominant with it so far. I would kind of lean into the fact that he's going to be successful with it going into the NFL. At number one, you and I can both tackle it because I think you and I have the same person here at number one. Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. I mean, Doug, what is there really to say about this kid other than the fact that he is an elite weapon? I'm not saying running back. He is an elite weapon, right? Anytime he's on the field, I mean, he has the potential to take that ball to the crib. I mean, I understand where there's people that believe, hey, you don't take a running back within the top 5, let alone within the top 10. You don't do that. It's malpractice. I do think that since this isn't a good quarterback class outside of Mendoza, teams are going to kind of look over that, at least for this season, or for this draft class. I think, is this player great? Can he help my team win games? Yes. Okay, regardless of position, let's take him. I mean, he's worthy of going in the top 4.
Yes.
Right? I mean, he's a phenomenal player. And I think that the season he had at Notre Dame, I mean, kid was off his rocker. I mean, he was phenomenal. I mean, I think he has elite hands. He has elite speed as well. I mean, he can really run between the tackles at an elite level as well. I love this kid, Doug. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I had him as my number one as well. I thought he had great home run speed. He had outstanding contact balance for his speed. Sometimes, when you have that speed, especially as a runner, you get a little tripped up on your legs and everything. Or with that speed you get going, you have, have a little ball security or concerns. And he didn't have that. He had one fumble, and he had one fumble with 0 losses across 433 career carries and 63 receptions. That is something that you want out of your ball carrier. You want to know that he is going to be able to protect the rock. I thought he was patient running behind the tackles, and he absorbed hits. He kept running. He used his legs. He showed a barrage of different ways to run the football and be productive at it. And I just feel like he as the season went on, he just kept getting better and better. And he just showed why he was going to be the best running back in this class by far. Yeah. And it's not close. It's like Jeremiah Love, and then whoever you have second is a far gap.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not a good running back class. It's really Jeremiah Love, and then it's a very steep drop, after that, which I think that also plays into the value. Yeah, I mean, I still, I don't know. I mean, I would take Love, and I don't know, man.
No, I'm saying like after him, Jadarian Price, maybe.
Okay, gotcha. I thought you were trying to. I thought you were trying to compare it.
No, I was saying like after him, maybe, which was his teammate.
Yeah, I mean it's not a good class, and I think that's more of enough reason to take him within the top 5. I don't see him slipping past number 4 to the Tennessee Titans at this point. But he's a phenomenal player, and I think that he is a weapon, whether it's on the ground, whether it's receiving in the backfield. I mean, he is a phenomenal player, and I think he's worth the hype. There's certain players where you're saying to yourself, are they worth the hype? or is it just because there's not many high quality players at that position? And while there aren't that many high quality players at the running back position going into this draft, he absolutely does live up to the hype. And I think that you're getting a home run player. I mean, I think he could be the next, CJ 2000 for Tennessee. That's just me personally. I get really excited thinking about him in Tennessee because I think that he'll be able to help out Cam Ward a lot in that offense, especially that rushing attack, which was god awful. But yes, so that was our top 15. You heard our 15. It was a little bit different. We had certain players higher, certain players lower, but ultimately, you guys get a gist of where we're feeling about this draft. Definitely let us know your thoughts and let us know some of the players that you guys have in your rankings. Doug, before we head out, is there anything else you want to say to the people?
2 weeks, and we are there. Draft night, and it's gonna be fun. I can't wait. I can't wait to see where some of these prospects go, where they land. Ultimately, somebody in this top 15, or how we have our top 15, is gonna slide. Somebody's gonna get a steal. There's gonna be a lot to talk about. I can't wait to see where some of these players go and how that is going to affect their career.
Likewise. I mean, it's going to be coming up very, very soon. I mean, I know we'll do a mock draft. We'll definitely do another, I guess bottom half. So it would be 16 to 30 for the player rankings. We could definitely do that as well. But I liked your list. I thought we had some, good similarities. Chat, definitely let us know some of your thoughts below. But yeah, with that being said, we'll see you guys on the next video. We appreciate you guys stopping by. And I'm Christian Cruz. He's Douglas Allen. See you guys on the next video.